Hey, Paula, great to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being here and sharing some of your wisdom and experience with the team. And I guess I know you've been around in the industry for a long time, and lots of people, especially here in Australia, will be familiar with your name and what you're doing now as a trainer. But you've also been in the industry actually treating clients for quite a long time. So I guess what I first wanted to ask you about was to take you back and say, hey, tell us a little bit about how you actually got started as a therapist.
Yeah, wow. Thanks, James. 30 years. I thought it was less, and we were talking about that the other day. 30, 30 years. Amazing.
Wow.
Uh, and a great profession, can I say? I put on my uniform every morning when I go to work, and I have a buzz in my step. It's a great place to be. I was running a gym way back, and a friend of mine said, would you be interested in doing this new thing that she discovered? And it's called something like aerobics. So we got into that. And then once I was doing the aerobics, she then said, I'm going to do a 12-week massage course. What do you think? I was like, well, why not? Why not do a massage course? I've got a young child, and it was only Thursday night, and I could pop that into my weekly calendar. So we did 12 weeks, and at the end of the 12th week, we were treating with only candles, very light candles. The room was in darkness, and our instructor, Dr. Peter Marr, I still remember his name, got us to just really think about our hands and where they were on the person, and to be super involved in the technique of actually touch and feel and palpation. And I think that's when I got that aha moment, that I really felt that this was something that blended with me, something that, people don't recognize the value of human touch. And we have been given that gift that we can touch people for a living. Not in a weird kind of touching people for a living way, but like hairdressers and massage therapists have this, we have 1 hour of your time that you freely give for tactile experience. And it's just a blessing. I love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I can hear how excited you are, even in your voice, as you're sort of talking through that and remembering. That's great. Do you want to share a little bit about like what it was like for you actually starting to work with clients, maybe the business side of things? Did you, if you were running a gym, did you get a lot of clients from there, or how was that working for you at the time?
We had a physiotherapist that worked downstairs on the first floor, and we're on the second floor. So we actually then started incorporating taking referrals from Julie, and worked from there. I, at the same time, was involved, thought I'd get involved in a massage association to be part of a bigger picture, and got involved with the QAMT, the Queensland Association of Massage Therapists, way back. I think it was in 1993 or something. It's on my certificate over there. So getting involved in that, they kind of gave you some business skills, but not loads. And then I joined into the Australian College of Natural Medicine and started doing my course, because in those days you only needed 200 health science hours and 50 hours of anatomy, and it wasn't like our health training packages now. So learning the skill sets that way was completely different. We didn't have what they have today. We didn't have that wonderful, learn how to address people. But because of my background skills of standing in front of 90 people in a leotard, you become fairly resilient to fear. And I used to get little business cards, and every person I'd see, I would just hand out a business card. Lisa Colson, who's a girl who owns a business called Travel About, used to say, always hand 5 business cards out every day. And I also tried to make sure that I would go to, I was lucky enough to go to a few, let me see, I knew a chiropractor way back then, and I was good friends with his receptionist. So she knew that I was doing the odd massage, and she was referring every man and his dog to me. So I was really lucky that I was getting involved with the receptionists of primary healthcare. And then I got involved with one of her friends who was the receptionist at our local GP. So again, she would say, tell people to go to Paula. She does amazing massage. She's got really good hands. She takes good history. You feel like you're safe. And that's kind of how I grew my pathway. But I was also running the gym, and I had somebody that had me coming in 2 days a week to the St Andrew's Hospital, I'd come in there and I'd say, okay, who needs me where? And they would send me to different wards, and I'd drag my great big heavy massage table. There's a rite of passage. You don't have to do that forever, ladies and gentlemen. At some stage you say, enough, no more carrying tables and no more Enya. After 10 years, no more Enya.
That was the moment you know you've made it.
No more chimes. I listen to what I want to listen to now. And I think my clients and my patients feel that, because I actually am working from a self-centered nurturing, so that I can then provide best practice to them.
Yeah, that's great. And there's two things that I'm going to take away from that. One is that you were really good, and probably still are actually, at networking and getting involved with people and other healthcare professionals. And the other is just an image of you in a leotard in front of 90 people. Like that's going to stick with me. That's great. And it does sound like you built a good business, practicing with lots of people there, having a really good flow of clients coming through. Right now, though, I think you're probably better known as a trainer in the industry. You've been using Chapman's reflexes for quite a while and around the training circuit, not just here in Australia, but all over the world. What was that transition like for you? Let's talk about what it was like moving from being a practitioner, a therapist, hands-on, to then stepping up and saying, hey, I want to teach this.
Yeah, wow. Great question. I was lucky enough that when I completed my diploma, the head of faculty said to me, we actually are looking for teachers. So in that regard, because my original background was nursing, I did my 3-year triple certificate nursing, and then I went in and did 8 years in intensive care. I had a whole pathophysiology background, and then I had the exercise physiology from group fitness, and then I had the tick of the last box, which was massage. So then I started teaching the REM, so the remedial subjects, and teaching clinic. And that, I think, helped me get an understanding of how best to explain to people how things work. And I remember the best part of clinic was always that somewhere between week 6 and week 10, where all of the students would suddenly go, oh my God, I get it. All I knew was, these are the tests, this is the special tests. And they go, now what do I do? I actually don't. I've done 25 minutes of taking all this information down from somebody who just wanted to have a massage. And I've come out to my supervisor and gone, now what? So I started to think, we've got to be able to teach people how to link really well. And I was, again, blessed, thank you, that I met up a great guy, Andrew Chadwick. Shout out to Chaddy and Mel, personal trainer. He was involved in a thing with Douglas Heel called Be Activated, and it's a high performance training where they wake up certain points of the body. And I took that and started to work with the thing called Chapman's reflexes, or neurolymphatic points, and started to work out how I can integrate that for remedial practitioners, yoga practitioners, Pilates, etc. So it was an integration of, how can I take this information, which is really useful because it's the neurolymphatic, so it's the nervous system and the way the lymph mobilizes, and get it to anyone around the world that can then actively assess and then apply the stimulation. And it's very gentle because it's superficially, it's on the spinal reflexes, so it's right at the peripheral end of the skin. Actively rub that and turn the neural pathways around so that from a weak muscle, we then have a strong muscle. And the empowering effects on the clients or patients and the therapists, who then are not burning out their thumbs and are getting rapid results because it's the nervous system. It's outstanding. I have just come back from Adelaide this weekend. It was amazing to actually do interstate travel. Thank you, vaccinations, and thank you, Australia, for being so quarantine savvy. Where I taught a dozen therapists this technique, and they were all coming back to me saying, last night I was looking after my 84-year-old mum who wobbles and is unstable. She rubbed 2 points and now she's strong and stable. So getting that information out to people, the elderly, stop people falling, wake up the muscles that are going to keep them upright. It's one of the things that I am trying to spread for the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's great. And it sounds like you've got a really big heart for not just for the therapists, but for the people that they're going to work on. You know, that's that ripple effect, isn't it? It's like you teach this amazing stuff to other therapists and other practitioners, and then all the communities that they're part of around Australia and the world are going to benefit from that. Do you want to share us some travel stories? Where have you been that has been a really great experience as part of your training?
Yeah.
Like, I know you've been around the world to different countries and that sort of stuff. What
Yeah.
has been the most interesting or the best experience that comes to mind with that?
Gosh, it's like looking at a Rolodex and going, for those young people who don't know what a Rolodex is, it's like a card file that you just flick, 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 flick. I think one of the highlights, I was teaching this over in Canada, so it doesn't just happen overnight. I started working with the massage associations. I got my name out there. I would always look for, if anyone wanted to have a book review, I would read things. You have to be proactive. This is an amazing industry for massage therapists, and you don't have to be just sitting in your room for 30 hours a week for the rest of your life. You could actually get out and do community work and be really involved. So I thought, I'm not going to sit around and do nothing for my whole life. I want to be involved. So I started getting involved with the Australian Association of Massage Therapists, got on their committees, got on the boards, then had the opportunity to do a little bit of travel. So in my travels, I met a fellow called Paul Buffell, who is in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And I knew I was going to be going over to Vancouver and then through to Toronto. So I was going from one side of Canada to the other side. And Paul said he would look after me, and I ran the course. I started a weekend course in Vancouver, a weekend course of 2 days midweek in Calgary, was offered to present at Red Deer for the National Health Practitioners Canada, their conference. Then went up and taught 2 days in Edmonton. So I'm taking little bits of time either side to see stuff. And then when I got to Saskatoon, we did 2 days there. And then Paul took me, we went kayaking on the Saskatchewan River.
Wow.
He's on a paddle, stand-up paddleboard, and I've got the kayak. And we're kayaking down and we're looking over, and there's beaver and there's Canadian geese, and then we've pulled into like a little beach somewhere, and we're sitting down eating these beautiful homemade sandwiches and drinking some kind of Canadian crazy beer. And it was just like 6 hours paddling down somewhere beautiful as part of my work life.
What? That sounds fantastic. What an amazing memory to have, Paula. That's such a cool experience. Yeah, and I can imagine everyone going, oh my goodness, how can I get more of that? That sounds like a fantastic thing, especially at the moment when we're all still a bit wary about traveling internationally too.
It's not impossible. It's like the last course I finished before this one was my virtual live streaming course. So I had people from Michigan in Canada, one girl in Bristol, I think, and then the rest in Australia. So we're actually saying, okay, who's that? Okay, I want you to pick up your laptop and point it out the window. So we're looking at, the snow and there's somebody's backyard, which is gorgeous trees, and then we're pointing out here at the beach. So you do actually feel like you are globally connected in this kind of crazy virtual experience.
Yeah, it's an amazing change for trainers especially, isn't it? Because I know when we were in the thick of lockdowns, there was literally no training, even in your own state. Like, all of us were kind of shut down.
Yeah.
And here in Victoria, where we are, we had a longer experience of that than some others. But then we sort of had interstate borders were closed, so you could run little workshops, but they had to be local. And now sort of Australia is fairly open, but international is not. But I kind of have noticed, definitely from the trainers that we work with, that it's kind of forced people to go online in a way that maybe they weren't planning to quite yet, or in an extra way to what they were doing. And that's had some amazing benefits as well as challenges, right? People all over the world can now, you're a perfect example, can now come and attend your Chapman's Reflexes courses, whatever else you're running, from literally anywhere. And that's a huge benefit, right?
Yeah. totally. You know, there's bringing it back full circle. We used to have regional community groups when I first started at QAMT, you know, the other associations, where we would meet once a month. Massage therapists would just go to the local, might be the Boy Scouts group or like just an area, and we would talk about a technique that we might be thinking about. We'd get one person to facilitate. And we can go back to that. We may not be able to travel. You might be listening to this thinking, what can I do? How can I improve my skills as a massage therapist? And you might know a few people in Facebook community land. You might be able to say, hey, does anybody live in the North Brisbane area, or does anyone live in St Kilda area, you know, Glenelg? And just go, all right, how about we try to meet in one area once a month or once every 6 weeks and do a little bit of self-study. It's easy to do.
And it's a great way to connect. It's funny, but massage therapists, you know, they work on people all day, very closely connected, but often it's a very professional relationship, and it can be kind of lonely in a weird way. I hear that quite often too. So being able to connect with other therapists and build some community is a really good side benefit of that too. To come back to your story, Paula, maybe a really good question would be to ask you, what would you see as the biggest challenge you've had over that entire business journey, starting just as a solo therapist, working by yourself, doing the work hands-on, and then transitioning to being a trainer and now all the training that you've done everywhere? Is there something that pops out as like, that was a huge challenge?
Okay, so if I would have to unpack it into two, because my greatest challenge, which is now no longer a challenge at all, was the ability to rebook, the ability to be brave enough to say, I think you need another treatment. Because for some stupid reason, therapists think that they've got either magic hands or that they're God incarnate, and that they think that one treatment is going to cure people. And it's just not the case. So the amount of times that you think, oh God, I'm going to have to swallow my pride. They might say no, and what happens if they say no? I'm going to explode. And all those stupid things that go through our heads. You finish a treatment, you have them sitting down, you write through the care plan or whatever, and you go, okay, I want to see you again in either 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6, whatever it is, whatever you deem that pathology-wise that their tissue is going to need, and you earnestly give that information to them. Like if they don't need another treatment, then and you're offering it because you want money, that's wrong. But if you think you actually feel really good, but in 12 weeks' time, you might want another really feel-good time. So getting over that hump of being able to say, I want you to come back, and these are the reasons why I want you to come back. So that's number one. Number two, in my teaching profession, it's just the ability to get bums on seats. It's about trying to say, okay, how do I market myself so that people know that the course is coming? And the amount of times I'll be running a course and 48 hours beforehand, I'll hear someone say, this is the first time I've seen this course. I'm like, I've been marketing it for months. And I still don't know the answer. That's my biggest stumbling block.
Yeah, I love that. Both of those challenges are amazing. And definitely the rebooking one, I know there'll be other therapists who are early on in their journey and they'll be relating to that like, hell yes. So thank you for sharing. And obviously that's something you've overcome quite well.
Yeah, easy.
And marketing events, you know, we do this too. Obviously, we run events, we run courses in a business sense. And marketing, that kind of thing can be a massive challenge. I don't want to go too much into that with you on this podcast, because I know lots of people listening are going to be more interested in the more hands-on techniques.
Yeah.
But I guess in a general sense, no matter who it is, whether you're marketing yourself working from your lounge room just starting up, or whether you've been in the industry 30 years and you're running trainings, it's always about just being able to get in front of the right people and authentically show them what it is that you do. And if you can do that successfully, then the people who are going to be right, who are going to be like, oh, I'm in, they're the ones who are going to put their hands up. And that's the natural connection. And sometimes I think people, a little bit like with rebooking, people when they're marketing feel like, oh, I don't want to be too pushy. I don't want to get myself out there. And it's like, well, if you don't show yourself, how are people going to know if they like you or not? You have to be ready to show yourself, and also just be understanding that not everyone's going to want to come in and buy your stuff just because you're in front of them. But the only way to get them to see who you are and what it is that you can be able to do for them is to be visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're certainly doing that, Paula. It's great.
Well, it's trying to be in the right space at the right time, and social media is so tricky. You can be opening the door for you, and as they're walking out the window. So it's just you never know how the algorithms flick and change. But yes, you're right. I am trying to get out there because this is a really worthy treatment, and I think that stress is so high. No, it wasn't 19. It was 2015. There was a study in Australia on stress, and 35% of people back then said that they had some form of anxiety, like moderate anxiety in Australia. Hello.
Wow.
We're the lucky country. We're the ones that take more holidays. We chuck more sickies than anyone else. And that was pre-COVID. So where there's stress, there's inflammation, and where there's inflammation, it's where we see our clients.
Yeah, that's great. I love that big picture thinking as well. Let's flip that script a little bit and think about what's your biggest achievement or your proudest moment, like across that whole kind of business journey. What's something that stands out as being like, oh, I so rocked when I did that?
It's the little pictures that make the jigsaw puzzle for me. Like on Sunday morning, I said to one of these people that I was teaching, how did you go last night? And she said, I got home and I thought, okay, I'm going to do this work. And she said, I thought, have I learned nothing today? Have I actually not picked up one thing? I can't even think where to go. And one of the other girls in the class went, I was the same. She said, I thought, I've just wasted my whole day because I can't remember a thing. And they said, both of them, when they woke up the next morning, their heads were completely clear and they went, I know exactly what I'm doing. And one of them said, my husband has a bad back. And she said, I did 3 moves and he got up and he said he was completely pain-free and they were both in the kitchen dancing.
Wow, there you go.
And when I hear hundreds and hundreds of those stories of people that go, this happened and then that, and then their face lights up. And when their face lights up, my face lights up. And I just go, I'm so happy to be able to facilitate your experience.
Yeah.
So I know it's not a big aha picture, but all those little ones are my big ahas.
That's fantastic. And I guess what I can hear in that too is that it feels like it's your place in the world. It's like, I'm here to do this. It's a very heart-centered missional approach to what you're doing. You've got that amazing positive feedback from the people you're working on and it helps you to know, yes, I'm in the right place. I'm doing the things that are here for me to do and I'm making a difference.
And the second COVID's finished, I'll be back on a plane somewhere. I was supposed to be in South Africa and America. And 2019, I actually had a chance to catch up. I toured in Dublin and then in London. And my son and his wife were in London. So I had a chance to be there. And Alex took me to Heston Blumenthal's for a gorgeous my lunch. And we went to see a play. And, we did all the things that you do, Londoners do. So it's about mixing joy with pleasure because my work's pleasure.
That's fantastic. I love that, Paula. Before we finish up, is there something you would say is your one biggest piece of advice, maybe to people who are earlier on in their journey and they're looking at you and thinking, I'd love to be in the industry for 30 years and grow over that time. And maybe at some point I'll transition into being a trainer as well, or maybe not. But for people who are earlier in their journey, what's your biggest piece of advice?
Believe in yourself because you don't need to doubt yourself. Therapists come into this industry because we're tacticians, we're very tactile, we are great with our hands, and we are hands over fist with any other body worker because we tend to have that touch. And don't be scared to learn and don't be scared to ask questions because there's no wrong question. You're just unpacking to understand stuff. And a lot of things with our industry, we tend not to have people who are high-end research, high-end brainiacs. They tend to go into engineering and other things. I was dumb at school. I barely got through grade 12 and I only got into nursing because we didn't need maths because I wasn't doing maths by the end of grade 10. And I keep thinking, look where I am. I was actually the kid who was playing softball and mucking around at school, wagging school, and I've got exactly what I've dreamed for. So dream big Aim high. Don't be scared to fall every now and then, because it doesn't really hurt that much. And never be scared to reach out. So if you see James or me or anybody that you think are peers, don't be scared to ask a question on Facebook or any of the other social platforms, because we are always more than happy to answer them for you.
That's fantastic. What awesome advice, Paula. I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, if someone is interested in reaching out and touching base with you, or they want to learn more about the courses that you run or anything like that, what's the best place for them to find you, do you think?
They could probably find me just by typing up Paula Nutting into their web browser, because they'll find Your Musculoskeletal Specialist. Not the smartest length of name I could have probably thought of when I was putting in my website, but it's Your Musculoskeletal Specialist. Easiest to find is just Paula Nutting, and all of the information on the Chapman's reflexes, whether it's a face-to-face, whether it's the online self-paced, whether it's a live streaming, whatever you want information-wise, it's all in there, and you'll be able to click on the asking a question on the website as well. So if you want a particular question answered, I'm 24 hours away from you, just with a click of a question.
Sounds fantastic. And we'll make sure we put all those links in the show notes as well. So if you're listening to this, you can go look at the show notes and we'll have those links there. Absolutely fantastic to have you on the show today, Paula. Really great discussion. You're doing an amazing job leading the industry, doing some fantastic training. So well done, and thank you again.
Thank you.